welcome to Rock Talk with the Doc Rockers. Homework assignments, album reviews of the week. Every week we give each other an album that we haven't heard before, and we come back the following week and we talk about it. So, Danton, Mr. Doc Rocker himself, what are we talking about this week?
All right, so my album that was assigned to me was by Metal Church, The Human Factor. And Jeff, I believe you had a Dream Theater album, didn't you? What was your assignment?
Yeah, I had the one Dream Theater album that features Mike Portnoy still on drums that I heard it before. I heard a couple tracks on it before, actually. But for some reason, I never went back to it. I skipped over it. I'm not sure why. It's Dream Theater Systematic Chaos. That's the one I had. Dream Theater Systematic Chaos. And
what'd you think?
I don't know why I skipped over this album initially back in 2007. So I have no idea why it didn't stick with me the first time. Like
kind of their best one, I think.
One or two tracks I listened to, whichever one they released as like their single or their video. I remember seeing that. I
forget which one. I
remember hearing Constant Motion
was one of their hits. Constant Motion was a hit.
I don't know why.
Okay. They released a video ahead of the album's release, like a video of them playing The Dark Eternal Night, I think. Yeah. I don't know what their official single was from it. I think it was Forsaken. I don't remember.
I think it may have been Forsaken. That I heard that one in Constant Motion before. I know that. Okay, Systematic Chaos, 9th studio album by Dream Theater, released on June 4th, 2007. It's really great. I mean, that's what I have to say about it. I could just end it right there. I heard a few tracks before. But I never dove into it like I did almost every other Dream Theater album up until then. Opening song, In the Presence of Enemies, Part 1. It's long, it's awesome, it's proggy, and there's like a really, really, really clear Rush influence in the beginning of that song. It reminds me of like I'd say
the little guitar,
yeah, like it reminds me of like early '90s Rush. Yeah, it's so cool.
I love that song so much.
And like splitting up the song to like kind of bookend the album was like brilliant idea. I absolutely love it. Yeah, great way to get the listeners' attention. It was very cool. Forsaken gave me total Pull Me Under vibes. Like
really similar chorus actually. Now that you mention it, I never thought of it that way. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It reminded me of Pull Me Under. Great song. Constant Motion. That there's a deliberate nod to Injustice for All era Metallica in that song. Like the way he sings it, it sounds like Blacken.
It's funny because I'm not really big on Metallica, but I remember when I first listened to Constant Motion, I was like, this sounds like mad Metallica vibe.
Yeah.
This is like Dream Theater trying to sound like Metallica and succeeding.
Yeah, it definitely was like
it's still proggy as hell.
Yeah, a little nod to Metallica, and then like the second half of the song just becomes Dream Theater again. Like,
with all the crazy solos and stuff, it's great.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. This album has like some of the most like crushing heavy things I've ever heard them do, like almost like Pantera it gets so brutal.
Oh, the end of Dark Eternal Night, that whole like fade out riff,
so brutal. It's great. I love it. I think it's great hearing them just be brutal like that.
I love it.
It was
favorite album.
Repentance, another song. That's part of their Alcoholics Anonymous thing or something. With
the 12-step suite is what they call it.
12-step suite.
Yeah.
12-step suite. Okay, so that's cool because like there's like I noticed there was like riffs I heard before in like other I guess parts of that. Last Prison I think is one of them. If I remember correctly. Yeah. And like the lyrics there's like similar lyrics and stuff, which I thought was really, really neat.
Yeah, now kind of cross album references and stuff. That's Portnoy at his best.
Yeah, I love that. That's so stuff like that's so cool. Now, one thing I had to look up about this because usually on a lot of their albums, and this was told to me, I didn't notice this because I'm not that good, but a lot of their albums like start with like the last note of the last song of their last
the previous album. They
don't do that here. They don't do that here though. I had to look that up to make sure they don't do that here.
Yeah, it starts with 6 Degrees and it ends with Octavarium is how it works. So like the end of 6 Degrees goes into Train of Thought, the end of Train of Thought goes into Octavarium. And I think
this could be like Train of Thought Part 2, this album, because it's
basically, and 6 Degrees is where the 12-step suite starts. And there's one release, Glass Prison is on 6 Degrees, and then This Dying Soul is on Train of Thought, and then Root of All Evil is on Octavarium. And then we got Repentance on Systematic, and then they finish it with The Shattered Fortress in Black Clouds and Silver Linings. And then at that point, Portnoy left and the suite was finished.
Now, I also noticed, like, there's different lyrics and different lyrical themes depending on who wrote the songs, which I thought was really interesting. Mm-hmm. Overall, this is a solid album by a very well-established band. It's very long. It's about 80 minutes, I think.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's pretty long.
Oh, it doesn't feel that long to me. Every time
it doesn't. It doesn't feel overly. It is long though. It is long, but it doesn't feel like that. I listened to it a couple times and it just went by. It's great. I will be returning to this. This is probably the new Dream Theater album I'll be listening to a lot.
Well, good. I hope it becomes a new favorite for you. That was
it probably will. It probably will because with stuff like this, like the first time you hear it, it's like, okay, that's cool. Second time you hear it, it's like, well, that's really cool. And the third time you hear it, you're like, oh my God, that riff is the most amazing thing in the world. And that's how, especially with like prog stuff like that, it's like you have to digest it a couple of times. And I'll be definitely going back to this probably this weekend, probably tomorrow when I'm cleaning out the garage or shoveling snow or something. I can listen to it. It's great stuff.
Yeah, you should definitely check out. You could find a documentary of like the making of, like a behind the scenes thing on YouTube. I would watch that. That's short. It's like an hour and a half, and it's really fun. Yeah, it goes into good detail with all the songs.
It popped up when I was going through YouTube checking out some stuff from this album. It popped. I just didn't get a chance to listen to it, or watch it, but I definitely will. I like watching all kinds of stuff like that. Any kind of behind the scenes, how you created something by any kind of artist, whether it's music or movies or anything like even video games. I like watching the creators talk, and what their thought processes, what they go through. And Dream Theater is no exception. Whenever I could, check out like when they're talking about the writing process, I love watching that because, I couldn't do it. So it always that's my, I don't know if you know this, like that's my definition of great art. If I can't do it and I have no idea how they pulled it off, it's fantastic.
The less I understand it, the better.
Absolutely.
I kind of
this album. Yeah, there's a lot of parts on this album that really amazed me. Like, really, like, wow, like this is really good stuff. It's more than solid. I call it a solid album. It's more than a solid album. It's fantastic. It really is. I'm gonna go back again. Who knows? It may become my new Awake. It may become my new Images and Words. I don't know yet, but it's
right up there with me with those. Systematic, Awake, Scenes from a Memory.
Scenes from Memory, yeah. I always forget about that album too. When I'm naming like great
it's so strong
album. But to me, it's like that's Metropolis Part 2. So it's like,
yeah.
Even though they didn't have Part 2 when they wrote Part 1.
They never. That was all. It was all a joke. They were just like, let's just call it Part 1 just because we're a prog rock band and that's gonna be funny.
Quirky boys. Okay, that's all I have to say about Dream Theater today. Let's move on to you.
All right. So, those of you that were following along, we did our whole big 1991 extravaganza, and we talked about this album a little bit, really briefly, Metal Church, The Human Factor. And, I live under a rock. I had no idea that Metal Church was this old. I saw the first exposure I got to Metal Church was seeing them live as one of the opening acts for Megadeth in 2016. And I remember watching them play and thinking, wow, these guys all look really, really young. Maybe they're like a newer band. It's like kind of doing this like older style. I had no idea that they were like right up there with the Tyrants back in the heyday. And this isn't even their first
1980.
Album. Yeah.
1980 they started, yeah.
They go back and I had no idea. So I was really curious to see like what was in store for me here. And I was just looking up like the members of the band are all pretty much who I saw in 2016. Yeah. Which, and right away I recognized the singer who like the singer for me he sounds Mike Howe, he sounds like a perfect blend. He's got like that like real operatic Bruce Dickinson vibe, but he also really nails the thrashy vibe. And it's like I would love to hear this guy sing the kind of trashier Maiden albums, like Fear of the Dark and No Prayer for the Dying, like the stuff where I feel like he can like do that whole like kind of real gritty, growly kind of stuff way better than Bruce can. And that's saying a lot because Bruce is one of my favorite singers of all time and he's fantastic. But yeah, I really like this guy. I loved him live. I remember thinking that like right away, like, oh, he sounds a lot like Bruce Dickinson, but he's got like a little bit more grit to him. And that's really cool. I like that. I should check these guys out. And then sure enough, I never did. But I put this album on my wish list right after we talked about it, a couple weeks ago. And so I was glad Jeff assigned it to me. I was like, go, well, now I have to listen to it. So I'll actually sit down and listen to the whole thing. So I did it cover to cover today, all in one, in one little walk. I put it on, put the headphones in, like, and I dug it. Like right away, the first opening riff of the title track blew me away. And like, they're really, it was song after song, there wasn't a dud. I would say if I had to pick like a least favorite, I think the one spot where I maybe lost interest for a minute or two was Agent Green. But that's not saying anything about that being a bad song. It's a great song. It's just, it's funny because it falls flat compared to all the other songs on the album, which are all fantastic. Even their slow.
I knew you were going to mention that song. I really did. I really knew you were going to hit Agent Green as your low point.
Yeah, that was the low point for me. Betrayed, close to the end, that was definitely the highest point. That was like, all right, I got to listen to this whole album again and like really try to pick it up. But yeah, like I said, the title track was good. I really liked Date with Poverty. I forget which one was the slower one, In Mourning or In Harm's Way.
In Mourning.
In Mourning.
In Harm's Way, yeah.
In Harm's Way's got like that more like acoustic bit in the beginning, and I was like, all right, well, here comes like the artificial or arbitrary slow ballad kind of thing. But even that song I really liked. I thought it had a really nice pace, and it had some really nice heavier spots as it progressed, and it held my interest the whole time. And that's saying something because most of those kind of ballady kind of songs I usually check right the hell out. But I really liked that one. Like I said, and even just saying that I didn't like Agent Green was kind of a stretch because I liked it, but I just didn't love it. Like I loved each of the rest of the tracks. Flee from Reality was fantastic. The closing track was like short and sweet, and I was like, oh, well, shoot, now it's over. All right, this is definitely one I plan to revisit. It's really heavy, it's got a real more like kind of modern metal vibe to it. There's a lot of like lower tuning stuff. There's a lot of like double bass kick grooves in the drums, which for 1991 to me just sounds so ahead of its time. That kind of stuff I don't really pick up more until like, post 95, 96, when more of the bands are doing that kind of thing. So I remember kind of hearing that vibe from when I saw them play live so many years later after this album came out. But going back this far on the timeline and hearing that they sounded like this, really, they're definitely going to probably climb to be one of my favorite metal bands of that era, the whole 80s and 90s. So I'm looking forward, definitely, just like with Fate's Warning, give me more Metal Church. This was awesome. I loved it. It was heavy. It didn't overstay its welcome. There's not a track that's over 7 minutes. They're all short and fast and sweet and to the point. Lots of riffs. I think the riff playing was great. The solos were definitely not too overfluffed and like, overdone, where it's just like, all right, we get it. You can play. I never got those vibes. Everything was just, it was just go, go, go. And as soon as I was like at a point with a song, it was over. And then it's like, all right, on to the next one. Very, very cool. Super, super tightly packed and concise. And I just loved it. And I definitely plan to revisit it.
Well, I'm glad you liked it, as much as you did. I thought you may, because it's varied. There's a lot of things going on in this album. There's a lot of different little things they throw into the songs. There's a lot of percussion in this album too, which I always thought was great. There's and like I said, the songs are very varied. And another thing, I like lyrics, and lyrically, these songs are all about something. Like The Human Factor is about sampling and playing the tracks, and it's about the MTV generation in 1991, how real metal was going away. Which kind of ties into our podcast, really, that we just got doing about grunge. Like, this was right when grunge was coming up, but he was talking more about like the rap and hip hop bands and the bands that weren't really even playing anymore. They're just, they're just DJs,
stuff, pre-cooked
sampling, stuff like that. There's a lot.
I got you.
Date with Poverty is about exactly what it is, about being poor.
Yeah, that one I liked a lot. I resonated a lot with that. that one I caught a bunch of slides. I was like, yeah, go and check my check. Yeah, I got that. Yep.
In Mourning is about like it's about kind of about like the PMRC labeling records and parents pointing their finger at metal musicians saying like you're because you're the reason why my kid is dead, and they're saying like it's not us. Why don't you try parenting? That's what In Mourning is about. That's what that song's about. In Harm's Way is about child abuse.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, Betrayed is about a drinking problem, being an alcoholic. So they're all lyrically, it's very cool stuff. It's very varied, and I'm glad it's not, trite. None of the lyrics that they write are trite. Now, you're saying you want
everything had meaning in it.
Yeah. No, and like I said,
this album, it's great.
Very varied.
No filler. Varied. A lot of variety. Yeah. I agree 100%.
The problem with Metal Church is there's a problem. If there's a problem, the problem is Mike Howe doesn't sing on all the albums. That's the problem.
Yeah, I saw that. There was like a big break where like this is him coming back after.
When we saw them in concert was him returning.
Yeah,
in 2016, I believe he returned. He did 2 albums so far with them again. So he's on Blessing in Disguise, Human Factor, and Hanging in the Balance. And then he was gone until 2016. He returned. That album's pretty good. Blessing in Disguise is good too. The one they did before the Human Factor. That's really good. That has probably their biggest hit on there.
I'll probably check out those other
that same. Yeah, Badland. Yeah. Now the other stuff before that is a little bit more straightforward. The Dark and Metal Church, different singer on that. I think the guy's last name is Wayne. I want to say it's like David Wayne or something. They're good for what they are, but they're more straightforward metal albums. The other stuff, like Masterpiece, Way of the World, those albums are with a different singer. I'm not sure who not sure who that was. They had a lot of. If you look at their Wikipedia page, wow, they had a lot of members. Like the member timeline is like it's huge. There's a lot of different members. But yeah, they did a new album in 2018, so they're still going good. But that's my favorite. My favorite by them has always been the Human Factor because of everything you just mentioned.
I can see why. Yeah, I can understand that completely.
And I do like Agent Green, but I knew at first I didn't think you were gonna. I did, for some reason I have this feeling. I knew why. I don't know why you don't like it as much, but I felt the same way. That was like the one I used to skip. But now it's like I need to listen to Agent Green. Agent Green, I believe, is about some kind of like super secret agent kind of guy.
I'll probably like it more if I listen to it a second time. It's probably just one of those. I was still processing the other stuff that came before it, and was just thinking about what's coming next, and was just like, okay, whatever. Like I said, I didn't hate it. I just didn't love it.
Yeah, it's probably if there's a weaker song on the album, I'd probably say it's that one, but. Yeah, like I said, I think
with saying that, it's like it's the weakest out of a set of like songs that are all 10 out of 10. So this one's like an 8 out of 10. So it's the weakest in context, but it's still on its own a pretty awesome kick-ass metal song, I'm sure.
Yeah. So well, I'm glad you liked it, and you could jam to more Metal Church. I think everyone should know Metal Church because unfortunately
I never heard of them until I saw them open for Megadeth, and I thought they were like a newish band. So that shows you how much I know.
They don't get the credit they deserve. They really don't.
Yeah, they're definitely grossly underrated from what I can tell.
So there you go. There was our homework for the week. I think we got 2 thumbs up albums. I'm definitely going to return to Dream Theater, Systematic Chaos, and I'm sure you're going to return to the Human Factor. So if you like what we do, of course, subscribe, ring that bell, join our Facebook group, which is Rock Talk with Doc Rocker, and we'll see you again very soon.
Peace out.